Welcome back. Well, yes, indeed, that speech is part of what we're still focusing on. This morning, we've got...
generating its attention.
Yes, it's still generating, and so they're both weighing on it. That's why we had to hold our gunpowders until now.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Key is an APC chieftain, and then Durand Odemi is Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the PDP, who will join us via Zoom from London. But Mr. Key, there's a little argument about how your first name is pronounced. So perhaps we should start with correcting it. Maybe you should just point it out to us, because sometimes we could miss it here and there. Could you tell us, how is your first name pronounced?
Good morning, Chamberlain.
Good morning.
Ayo, good morning.
Good morning.
I said your name is on Google,
morning,
and Google had to give us the right pronunciation.
Okay, the right pronunciation is Fuad.
Okay.
Told you.
That's good. So we were right on that one. All right. So it's good to hear from the horse's mouth sometimes. Okay, but Mr. Okidi's speech that the president gave still generating a lot of hoopla. Many not happy with that speech. In fact, you know how they can be dismissive of the speech, saying, no, nothing. It's all speech, no action. You see Northern elders saying they thought that they were going to hear the president's announce a sack of service chiefs in that speech, but that didn't happen. So, so much response coming through from the speech. How do you respond to it?
Well, I'll start by saying that we are a nation of over 200 million people. So you certainly do not expect that all the 200 million people will accept what the president says. Let's start from there. You must also understand very clearly that we are not too happy with the way things have gone the last 6 months, particularly. And as impatient as we are as Nigerians, we feel that the president should come out and do, just the talking. And I don't think that is what should be, or that is what has been. And mind you, those who got us to where we are today have not found reasons to sit down and accept the fact that they got us to where we are today. Though the chairman of PDP sometime in 2018 came out to apologize to Nigerians for getting us into this mess years back. And unfortunately for them, they find it very, very terrible today, to say, oh, this government is not doing it, that government is not doing this. This question is, what will have you done the other way? What will you do better? Because it's not just about criticizing, it's not just about saying, oh, we did not see anything in the speech, we did not do. I think opposition and an effective opposition should be, this is what we feel has gone wrong, this is how we feel we should do it. And not just by saying, oh, we did not do this, we did not do that, we did not hear from him, this is what we expect. And I think on the issue of service chiefs, I think we've done so much talking about the issue of service chiefs. So much that we even forget our own responsibilities. And we must be very clear about that. Yes, the service chiefs, in our opinion, have overstayed. They are welcome. They have done this, they have done. I think they are doing their best. They've done their best. Yes, I also agree. There is need for a rejig, of the whole system. And the president has come out very clearly, unlike previous times. It's come out very clearly that this year, going forward, he is going to rejig the whole system. And it's not just the military, the police inclusive. I think we should give kudos to the president for coming out this year to say, we've seen the problem very clearly and we've realized that there is need for us to rejig the system. possibly in rejigging it, maybe bringing in, fresh ideas, creative thinking, either in or out of the box. Why don't we allow the president another 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, to come again to us with his thinking in terms of revamping, rejigging the whole security architecture? After all, the essence of governance and the reason for government is for the protection of lives and property, for the safety and security of its citizenry. So I think the president has done well this time around. He's done very, very well in acknowledging the fact that we have security challenge, in assuring us that going forward, there is going to be a revamp of the old security architecture.
Let me bring to the PDP. Let me bring to the PDP, which you referenced, and let's see if they'll told that same line about kudos. Mr. Odeyemi, go ahead, please.
Thank you very much for this opportunity and compliment of the season to Nigeria.
Thank you.
Just yesterday, we listened to Boris Johnson in UK addressing the citizens. Quite frankly, you saw in him somebody who knew exactly what he was saying. Somebody who is convinced about the topic he was talking about, that is COVID-19. You saw the mannerism in which he delivered his speech. This is contrary to what happened in Nigeria. Rather than the president addressing the nation, what he did was to read a prepared speech given to him, by his aides. And if you want to assess this, you look at it in various dimensions. Is it in terms of content or in terms of personal conviction of what the president was reading out to Nigerians? There was no correlation between the two. You will see in the president saying something that he is not convinced about. Look at the content. The president talked about NSAS, and he said something like, we have listened, we have heard. Are Nigerians really convinced that we have a government that listens at all? We heard the president saying, or admitting, that there are lots to be done in terms of security, protecting the lives and property of Nigerians. Is he really convinced about what he said by still retaining the service chiefs?
Let's take a look at
the agitation.
Some parts of what he said about security. So let's just show you some parts of it, because you did ask if he's really convinced about it. So you could see part of it which read they were going to re-energize and reorganize the security apparatus and personnel of the armed forces and the police with a view to enhance their capacity to engage, push back, and dismantle the operations of both internal and external extremists and criminal groups waging war against our communities in some parts of the country. However, we recognize that we rapidly have to move to a more proactive and preemptive posture to ensure that these sorts of traumatic incidents do not become a norm. Isn't this somewhat definitive on his part?
I want to draw you back to about a year ago, when the president sought for the sum of 365 billion naira to counter Boko Haram. And after 6 months of getting that fund, they came back to tell us that Boko Haram had been technically defeated. We are moving into 2021 now, 2021. And the president is still coming to us and telling Nigerians that they are going to re-energize the military or the armed forces to fight insurgents in Nigeria. Who is deceiving who? And recently, just that same day, the chief of army staff went prophetic by saying that the Boko Haram will be disgraced. We are talking of a military who is talking like a pastor. Does that mean disgrace or destroy? Is their work to disgrace Boko Haram? Or they are to destroy and restore the hope of Nigeria in the security architecture of the country? I want to put it, and I want you to agree with me.
Are you saying in
has not said
effect
anything other than what we know?
One moment, Mr. Adeyemi. Are you saying in effect that we haven't made any progress whatsoever in terms of security?
Maybe you are a journalist and you can Google it. Anybody in Nigeria can Google it. How many lives have been lost? And even between now and the time the president delivered his speech, have you not seen Boko Haram operating in the north? Has anything stopped? Has anything changed? Nothing has changed. All that we keep hearing is hope. We will, we shall re-energize. When exactly are you going to do this? That is the question. We are not expecting the president to give us any hope again.
All right, let's take this. Yes, let's take this to Mr. Oki to see what his perspective will be on what you have raised. Well, Mr. Oki, the concerns about security or a lack of it, or the challenges we are having with it, is not centralized to one person or one group of people. It seems like it's a general consensus that we're not doing as well as we ought to do in terms of security.
Thank you, Ayo. Let me first point out something very clearly, and it is rather unfortunate when the likes of Mr. Adeyemi will begin to compare what is happening in Nigeria with what the Prime Minister of the UK, it's saying about COVID. And part of the problems in this country, it's when you have elites who have lost touch with reality on ground in their home state, begin to seek or look for solutions elsewhere. Because there is no need for comparison. We all have our issues. Great Britain has its issue. Nigeria has it. We have our issues. We are talking about internal security here. Maybe Mr. Adeyemi and others like him really do not understand what the issue really is. It's not about a conventional war. It's about a war where and which you do not know who the enemy combatant is. And we need to understand this. We must also understand very clearly that this is not where we were in 2015. This is not where we were in 2019. We may not be where we would have wished to be or where we think we should be, but certainly we are not going back. And we must understand that very clearly. We are not going back. Mr. Adeyemi, for some reasons, and clearly has shown that nothing, absolutely nothing good can be seen from what the president is doing or what this government is doing. I clearly acknowledge the fact that we have problems, there are challenges. We must also appreciate one thing very clearly, and that is today we can go to bed and sleep, albeit not too soundly, but not the way we were before 2015. We must appreciate the fact that the Nigerian military is doing its utmost. Maybe not good enough as we would want, but we should not say we have not seen anything good about what they are doing. Yes, there is need for us to rejig. The president has promised that is giving assurances that now, more than any other time, we will ensure that the issue in the northeast, the issue in the north central, which is rubbing off on the southwest, the issue in the southeast will be addressed more drastically. The last 6-7 months in Nigeria, everybody, including the legislature, it's sack the service chiefs, sack the service chiefs, sack the service chiefs. But we must know one thing very clearly. This is the only country I know where every Nigerian is a medical doctor, is an engineer, is a military strategist, it's an economist, name it. So today, we all want the service chiefs sacked. How many of us understands military system, processes, their procedure, other than coming out to say somebody was in class 21 and somebody is in class 29 and you need to move for others to come to the forefront.
Okay,
what are we talking about? Are we saying, okay?
Let me take it to Mr. Odeyemi, but about that matter you raised, I mean, many can respond thinking, but in this country, leaders, politicians don't allow professionals thrive in their field. They just call their cronies and put them in different positions and not allowing professionals do what they are there for. And perhaps that's why you see everybody jack of all trades and, as she was suggesting, master of none. But that's just on the one hand. But Mr. Odeyemi, having heard him talk about, you or your party not seeing anything good in whatever is being done, so is that the politician in you or the Nigerian who thinks that, look, well, I've seen what they've done previously, and as a result of that, this statement, because he also did say, yes, there are some, he did acknowledge some shortcomings in that speech, and with the promise of them doing a little better, he's suggesting benefit of doubt.
I want to correct the misconception of Mr. Oki about my person, and this is that perhaps I live in London. That is not the situation. I'm only in London. I came to London about 2 weeks ago, and in a few days I'll be back in Nigeria. So I don't live in London. I'm not one of the Londoners that talk about Nigerians, about the situation in Nigeria without feeling it. So I'm a Nigerian and I live in Nigeria. So you should not get that impression that people who live abroad comparing Boris Johnson to Buhari. Having said that, and on a lighter mood, perhaps I would like to advise that Mr. Oki should take after Lai Mohammed, if this is all what he can say about what Nigerians are saying about the president's speech. Now, looking at it from another angle, we are not just talking as a politician, I'm talking as a Nigerian. And the way it comes, if the president is still telling us about I will, I shall, or giving us hope after 6 years in governance, I don't believe this is what we need. This administration came into office, came into power on the premises that President Buhari, as a former military man, knows how to secure the life and properties of an average Nigerian. And that was part of the reasons why he was voted. As a matter of fact, I remember that one of the ministers now, former governor of Lagos, Raji Fashola, asked Nigerians to stone them if within 6 months they are not able to perform or put things back in the right manner. But this is almost 6 years now. What have they put right? That is the question we're asking. I'm not talking as a politician, I'm talking as a realist, as a Nigerian who is feeling the bad government that has been in power for 6 years. Look at it. The only thing they are talking about now is we will re-energize, we know we have failed. If you have admitted that, what excuses are you giving now again to say that you are performing? And Nigerians are calling on the president to sack these military security chiefs on the basis that they are tired. They ought to have retired, and they don't have any idea again about securing Nigerians. There is nothing bad in this legitimate call. Both the people we elected at the Senate rep, opinion leaders, have advised the president. But it appears we have a president that doesn't listen and does things in his own way. And if we continue to fail and we continue to do the same thing, how do we now expect a positive result?
So
it's a legitimate call.
Okay, you know, just looking at how things played out, while the PDP was there, Nigerians didn't think they were satisfied with what was going on. Then they voted the APC. Yeah. And now there are more questions about the APC in terms of what they fared, how they fared. So isn't it time you think Nigerians should look to another political party to give them a shot?
Nigerians have tried two husbands now, you know, like a female. And they know which one is better. In fact, what Nigerians are now saying is that if you cannot take us any further, as you promised during your campaign, leave us where we are, leave us with the PDP. And practically, as a politician, I don't see the emergence of any third force politically. There has been instances whereby we assume that if you vote in a youth as a president, perhaps things can get better. But here we are. Dele Momodu was contested to be the president of this country. Likewise, Omowole Sowore. And we all know that these are people who are fighting the cause of humanity. But did Nigeria ever vote for them? No. Let Ganifa Remi, establish a political party. Did Nigeria look towards his side? No. So I don't believe there can ever be any third force in Nigeria. What I believe is we should strengthen our political party and make sure that the voters do the right thing.
Just one moment, Mr. Demi. Yes. Are you saying that we are stuck with APC and PDP or PDP at any given time? We don't have any other option?
We are not going to import foreigners to come and be our politician in Nigeria.
Okay.
It is Nigerians that will be. It is Nigerians that are the politicians. And what is bad about the politics we play in Nigeria is that you can see people moving from PDP. The PDP you have accused of not doing the right thing in Nigeria, moving to APC tomorrow, and when they move to APC, because APC is the
Mr. Let me take this to Mr. Oki as well. So many issues that he has already raised. Do you want to very, very quickly respond before we take a break?
I'd rather not go back to joining EU. Else, we will be talking about what did PDP do and what did PDP do not do. I'd rather look at the content of the president's speech of January 1st, 2021. Let's look at the content of that address and then dissect it. You see, talking to chieftains of PDP about you've spent 100 years or 200 years, you look at what my brother is saying, and I'm sure he cannot be serious, that Omowole Sowore is this, Dele Momodu is that. You ask the simple question. If in his opinion that APC has failed, and he agrees that they failed most woefully in 6 years. Your question to him was direct. Do we look for another, a new face? And he cannot come out. So I'd rather not join issues. Let's look at the content of the president's address. Let us dissect it.
We'll do a lot more of that when we return. We need to go to break, but we'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. Well, Mr. Oki, well, part of expectations, including having heard the speech from what we just heard of Senator Ali Ndume, there are questions about actions. He wants, the president wants, rejig the cabinet, some sort of action. And then he also, like he has always spoken about, the questioning the security strategy, operations, not satisfied with how some of those things are going, and that is a member of your party. Should the president accede and perhaps look inwards, rejig and perhaps inject new ideas to back up this speech?
Thank you very much, Chamberlain. Unfortunately, that is what the likes of my brother don't want to hear. But that's the gospel truth. Give it to Senator Aline Dume. He's been very consistent. He is on the field as chairman, committee that is oversighting the army. He wears the shoes from the northeast, so he understands and knows very clearly where it pinches. Someone like Aline Dume must be listened to. Again, the president clearly enunciated in its speech that he's had not just the NSAS protesters, but also people like Senator Aline Dume, that he's had them very clearly. And I think that's important. Very, very important. I think we should expect in coming days, not weeks, in coming days, is for the president to come back and begin to walk that talk. Not before now. Senator Ndume has been very, very consistent with what we are giving the military. If you look at that clip, it's talking about just one thing: tools. It requires funding. And my brother said there was a time 365 billion was given to the president, and later he said they've decimated. That's not the issue. If you look at 365 billion, very humongous amount of money by our standard. When you look at the issue of security, modern day security, tooling, you will know that it's just a droplet. And one thing we should all know is this: like former vice president in the military era, Rear Admiral Ihom once said that better soup na money cookam. We must be ready. We must be willing, especially when you have porous land borders as we have in Nigeria, over 1,000 land borders. As big as the almighty America is, United States of America, they have this challenge. If not, why would President Trump want to build wall around America? It is just for one reason: because their borders are porous. So we also have this challenge here.
But you know, and you just mentioned what the US is doing about their own challenge. But what are we doing about ours? Because comments credited to the president were saying, well, it's only God that can police such borders. So compare those actions and words to what you just highlighted.
Chamberlain, I will definitely address it. One thing is very clear. President Trump did not wake up one day or during his campaigning, sessions that, hey, we are going to build wall around America. He had security information from people that have been there. Not like your everyday Nigerian, which is a specialist in military tactics, which is a specialist in intel gathering, intel analysis. The president has come out very clearly now to say, I've heard, I listened, I am giving you assurances that in coming weeks and months, we are going to revamp the whole system. We are talking about insecurity. Most times we want to concentrate on just the military, forgetting that there must be a symbiotic relationship between the military and the police.
All right.
Today we're talking about NSAS issue.
We've talked so much about security from the perspective that we're looking at it now. But another concern that has played out in that regard is one of the major causative agents of insecurity is the imbalance in the economy. So let me take this to Mr. Odeyemi. We have heard over and over again, that there is a need for us to take a better look at our economy, opportunities to circulate so that there is equity and equality all over the place. What would you like to see from what the president has said? Well, core part of it, he said, our focus is on revamping the economy through the National Economic Diversification Agenda that supports the primary goal of national food self-sufficiency, and he goes on and on. So what would you like to see to ensure that indeed it's not just talk, but it's actually talk that will be matched with action? What will indicate to you that the president meant what he said?
Before I go into that, I want to talk a little bit about what Senator Ali Dume said, and which was more or less agreed to by my brother Oki. I want to say that if such statement had come from anybody in PDP or from an average Nigerian, it will be tagged it will be, taken in another way. What has Senator Dume said that Reverend Father Kuka has not said? It's merely the same thing, but simply because the messengers are different. One belongs to the APC, the other one is just a Reverend Father and a Nigerian. It means different things to the president and the likes of Mr. Oki. Having said that, coming to the issue of economy, I want to believe that nobody is an encyclopedia of knowledge, and the president has not proclaimed himself to be an expert in this field. But the point is, even in his own field, where he has proclaimed himself to be an expert, which is the security, we are not getting anything. So what I would have expected normally is for him to have put a round peg in a round hole, just like President Olusegun Obasanjo, President Jonathan did when they were there. Nobody has the monopoly of value. Nobody has vast knowledge about every subject. We are all good in our different fields. So what I would have expected the president to do is to appoint experts in economic area to look into our situation in Nigeria, to look into economic books and make sure that they propose a solution towards a situation whereby our economy will improve. Part of the reason why this government came into power is the issue of security. They talk about economy, they talk about the corruption. And if you are to award them marks now, they have failed in every sector. So my advice on economy will be, let him put the round peg in the round hole. And this is why I will suggest, or just like everybody has been saying, that there should be a rejig of the ministers. We have seen situations whereby people who have ideas about security are being put in to handle labor. People who are experts in the health sector are being asked to come and manage transportation. All these things, anomalies and lopsidedness, are not too good for the administration, and that is why it's recording failures. So my advice on economy will be, put round pegs in the round hole. Seek help where you need it, and you don't have to be proud about it that you know everything.
Well, I'm wondering, Mr. Odeyemi, if you can cite an example or two where you think, the wrong people have been in the wrong places, it might be a good idea. However, one also wonders, what specific things would you like to see beside just the people? Because we have been talking about people in specific places at the same time. However, there is a need to be clear about what, not just who now, but what do we expect to see that will help the economy of the country in all of its regions, the 6 regions that it has, 6 geopolitical regions that it has, and all of the states that it has. What would you like to see that will make a difference?
One of the major things that is affecting our economy is the security situation in this country. Nobody will like to invest his money in a security-ravaged country. There is no way you can encourage people from America, from China, from all over the world to come and invest in Nigeria and boost your economy if the security situation is so bad. And I think that is one of the key issues that the president needs to tackle. And it is an area where we have recorded failure.
Okay, so Mr. Oki, you say these are some of the things we need to see. We need to get some action, some traction in a matter of days and weeks. What happens if in months we don't see anything?
Well, I think we must always look at things very clearly from a position that where are we heading? Where are we today? Where are we coming from? The president has come out 5 days ago to say 2021 fiscal year, this is the way to go. What are the ways which he has initiated? You look at the 2021 budget, which he signed, and that budget is speaking to 3 issues: security, health, education. These are pillars that will help to deepen, economic stimulation, particularly at the MSM level, which is what we need. Importantly, we must also understand very clearly too that no country has become great without feeding itself, without consuming what is produced. This is the only country where, when my brother is coming back, as he said, in a week or 2, he will buy virtually everything his family needs that can be gotten here locally. He will not eat cornflakes that is produced from Jos. He will take cornflakes that is produced by Kellogg and bring to Nigeria. And the real issue is this, which we must begin to look at. And hopefully that in the next couple of days, if not week, the president will come out again to tell us what he is doing with the economic diversification program for this year, which will help to stimulate the economy. He's given us assurance about security, which is the important thing. You can only thrive in a safe and secured environment. And I believe,
all right, Mr. Oki,
and
that
I know
happens
so
to be
many Nigerians, in our millions, also believe that.
That happens to be our next focus.
How do we, just a minute, Chamberlain,
if you can wind down,
how do we
please
stimulate economy? The way to go about it is massive, massive, massive employment. The 774 thing should not just be a one thing off. Let us have massive employment, wherein people will have the power, to consume. When that is done, we'll begin to look upward again.
All right. So we'll talk about the budget and the economy. That's coming up next. But we'll have to thank you, Mr. Fuad Oki, an APC chieftain, as well as Deron Odemi, Deputy National Secretary, Public Secretary of the PDP. Gentlemen, thank you both for talking to us today. The economy is coming up next, and we will be back in a moment.